Everybody tuning in right now, welcome. I'm Muria Zimbabwe. If you're tuning in right now, you're tuned into Live Talk, The Connection, Studio 7's very own youth program that targets tackling anything and everything youth-related, brought to you by Studio 7, a voice of America. Muria Zimbabwe Namhlanje. Today is Tuesday, April 26th. 2022. Zimbabwe, you're tuning in right now. You're tuned into Live Talk, The Connection. And I'm your host, Mike Hove. Once again, Muria Zimbabwe, welcome. We welcome you to Live Talk, The Connection, Studio 7's very own youth program that targets tackling anything and everything youth-related. We're coming to you from my apartment in Washington, D.C. Now, tonight on The Connection, Muria Zimbabwe, we're going to be speaking to youth about Zimbabwe's voter registration program. Now, there's several different youth-led organizations that are running voter education programs, educating especially the youth of the nation on the importance of partaking in the registration program, and of course, ensuring that they go out on voting day, especially in 2023, to go out and get their voices heard by casting their ballots. However, the conversation is not just going to be ending there, Muria Zimbabwe. Tonight on Live Talk, The Connection, we're also going to be focusing on empowerment programs that are there in Zimbabwe that target uplifting rural women and rural youth. Asisakandiyo yathi nayo mnasimchonga chedu chewe chidiki Muria Zimbabwe lingakhohlwa ukuthi sikhuluma nje. We're broadcasting on our 3 Facebook pages, sikhona ku VOA Ndebele, VOA Studio 7, Daniela VOA Shona, Muria Zimbabwe. So as we speak, unfortunately, tonight's program is a pre-recorded broadcast, but we are available on our 3 Facebook pages as we speak, VOA Shona, VOA Ndebele, and of course, VOA Studio 7. So do not forget, Muria Zimbabwe, to press the like button so that we see what is song get to and of course, most importantly, do not forget to put your comments and press the share button so that we can watch the program in our numbers. For our YouTube fanatics, Muria Zimbabwe, we're also broadcasting on YouTube as we speak. Our official page is at VOA Zimbabwe. I repeat, at VOA Zimbabwe. So for those that love watching programs on YouTube, we're available there. You can share the program and of course put your comments in the comments section. And just like Facebook, you can like it too. For everybody that likes consuming our programs on our 3 websites, we're also broadcasting on our 3 websites as we speak, that being voandebele.com, www.voashona.com, and www.voazimbabwe.com. So that's where we're broadcasting this program as we speak, Muria Zimbabwe. For everybody that looks to watch the program aside from listening to it on radio, we're available on our 3 Facebook pages, VOA Shona, VOA Ndebele, and VOA Studio 7. We're available on YouTube at VOA Zimbabwe. And of course, we're available on our 3 web pages, www.voandebele.com, www.voashona.com, and www.voazimbabwe.com. So, once again, press the like button. I was Muria Zimbabwe. Like so, we're Studio 7. Studio 7, Muria Zimbabwe, and also feel free to drop your comments in the comment section so that we get to see your feedback, and most importantly, share the program with your networks. Now, usually we like to start off our program with an update on COVID-19 statistics in Zimbabwe, but unfortunately, by the time we had to record this pre-recorded broadcast, the latest COVID-19 stats were yet to be released by Zimbabwe's Ministry of Health and Childcare. So without wasting time, let us delve into our discussion. First up, a discussion on Zimbabwe's voter registration program. Now, Zimbabwe's voter registration programs have been open to the public over the past couple of months, especially as Zimbabwe ran up to the most recently held by-elections. These programs were open to the public for people to go out there and register to vote to make sure that for those that had an election in the by-elections, they had their voices heard in terms of picking their councillors and in terms of course, picking their members of parliament. Now, the program is still ongoing in different phases as Zimbabwe gears up for the 2023 general elections. But now youth-led organizations have taken it upon themselves to educate the public on the importance of these voter registration programs, and of course, the importance of partaking in these programs, and then making sure that come 2023, you go out there and cast your ballot. But one thing that's been highlighted by these youth-led organizations is that young people in Zimbabwe are faced by a range of challenges that is hindering them from wanting to partake in these voter registration programs. Now, one organization, the National Movement of Catholic Students of Zimbabwe, recently had a chat on voter registration and youth partaking in democracy. Now, this chat is an hour long, so to watch the full clip, you're going to have to head over to their Facebook page. However, for the purposes of tonight's discussion, we've extracted 6 minutes with their permission, whereby youth are focusing specifically on the voter registration program, and of course, the challenges that youth are facing that is hindering them from wanting to partake in this program in the first place. So let's head over to that chat. And again, to watch the full hour chat, head over to their Facebook page, the National Movement of Catholic Students of Zimbabwe.
We pray as students, we register, we vote, but as long as we don't count the votes, we are doing something that is useless. We discuss these things as youth, we raise our issues, but as long as there are some popular beings in the society, we have the final say on whatever we discuss. This is useless. We can participate, we can tolerate each other, but as long as people who openly declare that they support a particular individual or a particular party are abducted and are beaten by unknown people, this is what we are doing. We go out there as youths, we ask each other, did you register to vote? The answer that you get is, why should I? Because voting is useless. So, I think to the panelists, I want to hear something of substance from you. I want to hear something of substance. But what is it? What is the white elephant in the room that we have to deal with as youths? It's not just as youths at this conference or in the country, but at a bigger stage, at a bigger step in life. Because at the end of the day, we see that it's always the youth who are victims, who raise these issues, but what changes? Nothing, because it's useless. So say something of substance about that issue. Thank you.
Strong word, so to say. But I'm sure these guys can enlighten to say it is not all useless and not all in vain. Because if we then deem it useless, why then should we exist at the end of the day? So I'll give it to you first.
Okay, thanks. I can give a good example of elections that happened in Zambia, where we have seen a change of government. A ruling party loses to an opposition, and then they came into power, and they've seen the power of young people uniting for a common cause. I've seen youth fighting with an official from Zambia who was trying to steal their election, and then they said, no, we don't want. This is impossible. So we are saying as young people, let's not have negative perceptions about everything before we try it. Look what happened in 2008. ZANU-PF lost elections to MDC, which was led by the late Dr. Morgan Tsvangirai. So if these parties really mean business when it comes to mobilization of youth to participate to register to vote, anything is possible.
If we don't register to vote, who benefits? It's the ruling party, because they're already in power. If they send out the narrative that if you vote, elections will be rigged or elections will be stolen, it's them that benefit because they're already in power. If they portray that image that if you participate in politics or governance, you'll be abducted, it's them that benefit. So it's our duty as young people to say that once those narratives are sent, they will demoralize us from getting the desired change or from getting what we intend to see in our society. So they benefit from the apathy, they benefit from you not registering, from you not convincing the other people to register to vote, from you not standing up on the election day to vote and to defend your vote. As young people, we need to stand up in solidarity with each other. If I'm abducted or if I'm taken, you have to stand up for me as a young person. Stand in my shoes, feel for me, and speak out. You can do whatever you can to speak out for me. For example, if I'm taken, you can use the social media platform to denounce that. Unlike just being passive, let's not create politics where it's us versus them. It's us, the young people, versus the old. So if we maybe create a generational consensus in between us, where we will make sure that every young person is protected, regardless of their political party. Let's not be tools that are used for violence. Because if you look at it well, political violence is sponsored by young people. For example, the Quaker incidents, most of the people who were accused were young people, fighting other young people or fighting a political party, maybe for some $5 or for some, maybe a bottle of super or something. So let's not be used as tools of political violence. Let's stand up for each other. Let's have a generational consensus. Let's stand up as young people and remove the polarization that stands. To address what you were saying, nothing is useless in participating in governance. We really need to take up the space and claim our space. Because if we don't, the old will benefit. Those who are already benefiting are already benefiting. And they'll continue sending the narrative such that they push us away from participating in governance. So it's us who need to teach others and us who need to find a conviction within ourselves that we need to participate, that we need change. And by whichever means, we need to defend our vote. We need to make sure that if I vote, my vote is counted, my vote is heard.
Well, Maria Zimbabwe, hearing there from the youth, abatsha bayachasisa ngempela abahlangana lapho okumayelana ngohlelo lokubhalisela ukuyovota besithi hayi kule nkinga kule ngxaki ezitshiyeneyo that is hindering them bona njengabantu abasakhulayo from wanting to partake in the voter registration program. But now to hear more, I also reached out to Nkosikhona Dividi, who is the spokesperson for Ekhaya Votes 2023, a youth-led organization that is educating the masses on the voter registration program and, of course, the upcoming general elections in 2023. They're predominantly working in the Matabeleland area. Now, let's head over to my conversation with Nkosikhona Dividi, who updates me on the challenges that the youth are facing and, of course, how things are going regarding the voter registration program.
Thanks, Mike. As a kind of work in pushing for voter registration in this second phase, but we've tried to make sure that we reach out mostly as priority to the area registered voters that are highly likely going to be affected by the delimitation process. So that is where our focus has been. That is in Bulawayo, Mat North and Mat South. So what we've done is we've done, door-to-door campaigns, like particularly in Bulawayo. We have done roadshows in Bulawayo. We have really packaged information in terms of where people can register to vote and by when, and also try to also engage and answer questions about electoral processes. Also, even Kusasa, Mike, we're going to have Zek on studio at Skies Metro FM, engaging with the citizens, calling in. People will be allowed to call in, send their WhatsApp messages about any electoral questions that they have, because Zek is the official legislative body that deals with elections in Zimbabwe. But we have tried also Makaya to deal with it differently. We are doing soccer tournaments there. We've done one in Nsizwa South. It's a constituency that is highly likely going to be affected by delimitation, including Matobo South as well. The whole idea for us was to bring young people together and play soccer, and also give Zek an opportunity to teach them about civic education. And also we are happy that Zach actually attended these tournaments and were registering people there and there. For young people with IDs, they were registering in that soccer tournament. So that is the hybrid idea that we've been trying to push and trying to say, okay, for constituencies that have the least registered voters, let them be our focus and let's engage the people, let's teach them and let's hear what their concerns are.
Nkosi Khona, thank you again for taking time out to be with us on the show. We always really appreciate your input. The last time we spoke, government had just launched the mobile identification documents drive, with the hopes that this will, of course, also benefit the voter registration program. Seeing as though in Zimbabwe, we had a lot of young people who were complaining, saying they don't have IDs and so they could not register to vote. President Mnangagwa launched this program with the hopes that when young people get their IDs, they'll also be able to register to vote. Is this what you're seeing as eKhaya votes?
Actually, the turnout is more on the ID, accessing identity documents, more and less on the voter registration. Our teams have been doing reports on a daily basis, especially in Blawa, where we are doing door-to-door campaign and engaging with people on a daily basis. The issues that emanate, especially from the younger electorate, is around if we vote, what will happen? If we vote, what are you going to give us? So do we have t-shirts? Things like that. You know, that the conversation has changed, Mike, from the first phase where people were saying we don't have, young people were saying we don't have identification documents like the national ID. But now they have it. They are now looking around incentives. They are now looking around, does this is in help? Even if I don't, because our messaging has been simple. We're looking at the nexus between service delivery and elections. But we're looking at it and saying, okay, if we're talking about elections, it's not about the winner of the election. It's about your livelihood, service delivery. But now, as we talk about that, we are also, because our focus has been constituencies that are highly likely going to be affected by the delimitation process. But we're saying delimitation will affect a community. And you hear young people asking you, even if delimitation happens, I don't know my MP, I don't know my council, I've never met them. So it doesn't matter if the constituency is closed or meshed with another constituency. It doesn't matter because we don't see these people at any point. We don't engage with them at any point. So it's like they don't exist. However, if the constituency is closed, it's still, the status quo still remains. So those are the kind of challenges that we've been facing and trying to address also through our voter educators in the field on a daily basis through this phase, second phase. But those are the major concerns. And for those that we have tried to really explain, some we have registered to vote. We've been trying to also engage them and also do voice notes, short voice notes about their concerns so that we document these issues that we can then engage with stakeholders such as ZEC and say, okay, this is what is happening on the ground. How best can we, package information on electoral participation and its importance, and how do we engage also at political party level in terms of, councillors who are well, MPs who are never seen in the community. How do you deal with such things? Because they are also contributing factors that we have noted from our work in terms of, civic participation.
Now, speaking of t-shirts, I recently came across a tweet that you guys put out as eKhaya 23, where you were discussing how you came across some young people in Makwekwe and some other residents of different age groups in Makwekwe. And what they were asking is to be rewarded with t-shirts, alcohol, and milimi umumbu in order for them to register to vote. Tell us more about that, and of course, why these residents wanted to be rewarded for them to, I guess, execute their civic duties.
In our view, Mike, during the by-elections, we also observed that there were political parties that were actually going door to door. A case so you find that it's a precedence that has been set up mostly by political parties or towards elections. People are aware that, elections, elections, people get money, which means as people campaign, they give people food, they buy beer for young people, and all those things, give them t-shirts, political regalia, you name it. So that culture has actually been infused in our society, such that as we do conduct civic education, you hear young people mentioning and listing those things that literally they've received before from political institutions, such as mealie meal, such as beer. You are campaigning for me, I'll give you beer and things like that. So those handouts, that handouts culture has been inculcated in our society. And one case really in Makwekwe, where young people bluntly told us that, what are you going to give us if we go and register to vote? I have my ID here, I can go and collect it from home and go and register, but what's in it for me? What do I get in the immediate right now? So those are the issues that really become a problem for us to solve, because we are doing civic education and actually empowering an individual to make a decision on who becomes their leader in their local community. And you hear t-shirts. All we are saying is young people can partake in these processes, but they are used to a different culture. And maybe elections, people will be distributing all these goodies and young people will be enjoying. But unfortunately, the voter registration process will be closed. And it's so sad, Mike, because to hear such a conversation, you don't know how to answer that and how to proceed actually with the civic education process, because it's difficult. If that's the position of young people in certain society communities, then it becomes difficult, because that messaging, which means it's going to spread across, and we can't objectively say if we buy beer, at least young people will register to vote. Then which means we have to buy some more for them to actually go out and cast the vote. And it becomes a process that we cannot really control and say we have control over. But these are concerns that we have noted as well. And we are trying to then say, okay, after we are done with this process, we will compile a report and say, okay, this is what is emanating from the communities. How best can this be tackled at a multi-stakeholder approach, Mike, because other stakeholders are providing some of these things. And we as a stakeholder doing voter education, we cannot.
Now, of course, to your point, Nkosikhona, a lot of political experts blame politicians for this perception that you are talking about of residents wanting to be rewarded when it comes to partaking in voting. Merely because, as you said, politicians are the ones who, when it come campaign time, they go out with their t-shirts, they go out with uchwala for young people, they go out with meat for some people, and they go out with the t-shirts, and they use this as a tool to court people to go out and vote for them. Now, seeing as though this perception seems to be something that's entrenched within society, how can we court the young people of Zimbabwe and make them understand that it is their civic duty to not only register to vote, but to actually go out and vote without having to be bribed with all these goodies, the t-shirts, the alcohol, the meat, and etc, etc. What can be done to court the young people to do that?
It's a tough question, Mike. I must say we hope and also wish that as we engage these different stakeholders, we then have a conversation about this, because what it's doing is, it's not only young people, by the way. Mothers were also saying, give us mealie meals so that we go and cook for the kids. So it also speaks to the economic situation that we have in our country, where anything and everything that is being done, someone is also looking for a little economic benefit, a legal takeaway, so that they can, live for another day and things like that. So the economic situation is such that it's affecting even civic participation. I will also highlight, you talk to informal traders in the markets. They are also highlighting such issues to say, I can't close the market, I can't close my shop and go and register to vote and come back. I'm thinking about the next dollar that I can make. I'm thinking about the next dollar that I can miss when I'm not here and I'm supposed to be here and working and for my sustainability, sustain my livelihood and things like that. But I think we need to also look at it broadly and say how best can, as Zimbabwe, whether it's in the politics, whether it's in the economy, whether it's unemployment for young people, you know, Mike, as you go to the community to do civic education, you never run out of people to talk to, whether the elderly, whether the young people. People are always at home. If they are not at home, they're in the little shopping centers or vending sites. And there is always people in these residential areas. So the question is, people are struggling, you know, to survive, and how best can we talk about, you know, economic issues and also infuse them to electoral participation. If we're going to say, for example, we're giving out loans to young people, bring a voter registration slip, trust me, many people are going to go into register to vote because there's link to an economic benefit. But we are also saying, as Ekaya, we are wanting to have this nexus on service delivery, on livelihood, and also explain delimitation in the context of, distribution of the national cake. But that conversation is too far-fetched. People want the immediate. What can I get now? What will I get now? And it's a problem. And it's a hard problem to solve because it includes a whole ecosystem of stakeholders that continuously offer such things to the electorate year in, year out as a norm. So the community has actually accepted that norm, but it's becoming difficult because for people to be civically engaged, they need to be paid. They need to be given something. Even a simple something, whether a bottle of water, someone will say, at least you gave me water. Let me go and register to vote. So it's a societal issue. It's an economic issue. It's a political landscape issue that needs to be solved so that we have the participation that we require. But delimitation, as it is scheduled in July, under this context, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard.
Now, in closing, Debiti, you were talking here about including all the stakeholders. I recently had a conversation with another young activist, Mandate Mlotro, who was here in Washington, D.C., and we're talking about democracy. And one thing Mandate highlighted when it came to young people and democracy is the best way to have young people interested or vested in these civic programs. We're talking about the registration. We're talking about going out to actually vote, is to find a different way of educating them. Mandate was highlighting that, for example, if you're a young person in agriculture, the approach should be making that person in agriculture understand that why is it so important for them to register to vote? How does voting affect their pockets? How does voting affect the agricultural sector? And so that's something that Mandate was highlighting there, is that regardless of the industry that the young people work in, it's important for people to speak their language, to understand that, hey, if I'm in IT, how does registering vote affect my IT business? If I'm in agriculture, how does voting affect my voting business? What is your thought on that mindset?
Yeah, it's a conversation that is a conversation that should start now and not start because there are electoral processes that are about to take place. We have had conversations even as CSOs under the Ekaya Vote banner to say, when we're talking about electoral participation, let's not single it out to electoral participation only. If we're talking to women about doing business, let's augment that to electoral participation or civic participation, generally. If we're talking to young people and we're talking about employment, we're talking about, different subjects, let's infuse that aspect of civic participation. Let's not isolate it to 5 years later. Let's not isolate it to pre-election all the time. Let's try to augment that into our daily conversation and things like that. Some would suggest let it be in the educational curricula so that someone can know what civic participation means and how best one can, how does it influence policy, for example? How does it influence their livelihood? How does that influence even how they survive in Zimbabwe and things like that? Because it's so detached mostly to the realities that people face. And most of the time, there's a lot of discouragement. People come and promise a lot of things and disappear. So people are no longer trusting those processes anymore, because it's like people come in the political institutions, promise people, and that never happens. And they are coming back again, promise people, until people really feel strongly that civic participation is so detached from their reality, so detached from their day-to-day struggles, such that even the elected officials might not be tackling the realities that the people face on a daily basis. So we need to a holistic kind of approach to then say, are citizens in a position to also track these promises that people give them, and also hold these leaders to account. Those who disappear after being elected, they also pin them down to account, so that everyone who then promises knows that there are repercussions to it, there are consequences to it, such that no one is just left loose, as it were, and disappear and then come back again with a different individual contesting in the community, and they are promising this and the other issue. So we need to kind of like bring reality to the conversations that we have, because that, Mike, we are having serious issues of reality check as we do civic education, because we are talking about civic education. Someone is telling you about their reality. Can we have meal? We have no food. So how then do you augment that? How then do you bring that together in terms of, looking at civic participation for Zimbabwe as a whole? As you can see, all our electoral participation has become low. Like you look at even 2013 elections into the 2018 elections, now going into the 2023 elections. But if you look at the by-elections that we had, the turnout was largely low. And we wonder how best we can help people to understand some of these issues outside the polarization, outside the political space that we are in. The challenges that we are facing even as CSOs is the aspect of we share this information. There's a lot of feedback from the communities. So we wish the Zimbabwe electoral, which we are in conversation with, to take these recommendations from the communities more serious. And there's the aspect of, as well as using the census to work on the delimitation process, and not to use the number of registered voters, because the census also shows that in these constituencies that are highly likely to be affected by delimitation, but now the issue is around how do we get the people there? And people have concerns about, the disputed elections, nothing changes after we vote. It's a hybrid of a situation to keep us on our toes, to engage every stakeholder, including political parties, to have a bearing on this. But on voter registration particularly, we need to have a decentralized system as voter registration. Voter registration is always, but it's being done very far places, offices, provincial offices, and things like that. At the end of the day, it comes at a cost. Voter registration becomes costly for the ordinary person as they turn 18 years to go to a specific place and register to vote. Others suggest that I'm talking about suggestions, not as civil society, but these are the suggestions that we get also from the communities who say, let's do it online. And now we can check that we are registered or not online. Why not register? Why not have me register online at the comfort of my own home, not having to walk or queue or board a bus to go to a voter registration center or a ZEC office? So those are the kind of conversations that we have. And also addressing the issues of young people tell you that we have heard so many times that elections do not work in Zimbabwe. So how best can the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission respond to such issues, of which we have tried also as civil society to engage with ZEC and interface them with the communities themselves, so that they can hear for themselves what are the issues that are affecting people, that are also contributing to the voter fatigue that we see. I think the voter fatigue at the level where we are right now is, I have not seen such, previously. The fatigue that we have now is extreme. And the question is what are the contributing factors to that? We think about, electoral, economic issues as well. How do we tackle those economic issues as a country? It's going to work, or people are going to work. It's easy to engage civically in the process. So it's a very comprehensive approach to understand how they fit into the economic revival and things like that.
Well, Mude Zimbabwe, you heard there from Unkosi Khona David Isithandubonga Nkosi Khona siyabonga ngempela kodwa ngongena kuhlelo tinotenda zvikuru Nkosi Khona David nokuphinda mjongwa. Now early on Mude Zimbabwe, I mentioned that tonight in the second half of the show we're going to be focusing on the empowerment of the rural woman and of course the empowerment of youth. Zimbabwe has several different programs, government-led programs, government-sponsored programs that target uplifting both the rural women and of course the rural youth. But now a local organization, a foundation led by Mr. Jordan Muchenje, the 4H Foundation, has taken it upon themselves to partner up with the Ministry of Agriculture to start a program that is uplifting both the youth and the rural women. So let's head over to my conversation with Mr. John Muchenje to hear more about the works of the 4H Foundation.
As an organization for Zimbabwe, we have got an MOU with the Ministry of Agriculture, which seeks to empower the rural youth in agriculture, including the women. So for now, we are working with the ministry in promoting what we call indigenization, climate smart, resilient farming methods in the rural sector. We have done trainings in Chirumantu district, in Mash West, which is in Urungo West, and also in this week, Friday, will be in Seke Rural District, capacitating rural young women in terms of our own local and less expensive innovations that we have in farming, which is including also Pumbuza, growing of small grains, and also sustainable land agricultural management systems, which include the soil nutrition management, something which is local and indigenous at a lower cost.
Mr. Muchenje, I've spoken to several experts who highlight that across the whole African continent, in Zimbabwe included, women occupy a majority of the space when we're talking about the agricultural sector, however, are the least paid and also own the least amount of land. So what is your organization doing to, I guess, fix that issue that has been brought to hand by experts?
Thank you very much. Just to start with what we are doing in Urungwe, where we are in the process of establishing about 8 women-led community gardens, what we call nutrition gardens. What we have done, we've engaged the local leadership, which is the chief headman, to give us land as an organization, but that land will belong to the women. So we've put the women in groups of 50 per garden, which is about 400 women that we are directly impacting in Urungwe, where this community garden will now belong to the women. So in that way, women are now owning this piece of land where we're going to put them on the mesh fence, sing a bowl, put the drip irrigation and tanks and give them startup to start their own enterprise. So in that system that we are doing, the land now that we are being given by the local chief now belongs to the community, which is the women as groups.
Mm-hmm. And in such situations, are you prioritizing young women or just women in general? How is this program working?
Our organization is a youth organization, so our target is youth. So we are now blending them with some which are non-youth, but the 50% of the beneficiaries, what you want to achieve, make sure that they are below 35 years.
Now, Mr. Muchenje, we've had you on this program several times talking about government-led programs that target empowering the youth. We're talking about the Empowerment Bank. We've had you talking about the Heifer program and other programs. Now, Zimbabwean youth, several youth, regardless of the fact that these programs are available to help them, have come onto this program, and they've highlighted that they still, to this date, have next to no information regarding the Empowerment Bank, next to no information regarding the Heifer program that you have told us about. So I'm a little curious in terms of what more can be done to reach out to these young people so that they have more knowledge pertaining to these programs that are there. Here we're talking about the empowerment program. Here we're talking about the Hove program. What can be done to ensure that more young people have knowledge on these information so that more young people can participate in these programs?
Thank you very much. I think what we need more to do is around information dissemination. Like I've said, that we are targeting all 8 provinces. We've removed the Ren Blawai because they are metropolitan, they are towns in nature. So we are targeting 4 serious rural districts in each province. So we are working in partnership with the Ministry of Agriculture, the Empower Bank, seed houses, like for example, Cisco in Gender. So like I said before, that in terms of the information dissemination, the flow of the information, I think there's need for an improvement there to make sure that the information for the programs that we are doing, like for example, the one we are having in Seke on Saturday, on the 20th of Saturday, which is the 30th of April. We are going to have one in Rose. So what we have done, we've worked with the DA and the agriculture to make sure that the information is disseminated to all the young people, especially the women that are around the community areas that we are working with, to make sure that they come in numbers and then we capacitate others so that as a team. So I think what we need to improve there, like you said, is on the information dissemination, how we disseminate our information to make sure that it reach a wider people in Zimbabwe.
Now, Mr. Mchenje, I also understand your program is working alongside the Empowerment Bank to educate Zimbabwean youth on financial literacy, which I guess the target is to make sure that more young people are financially literate, they can access loans better, and they can also better run their businesses. Tell us more about this program that you're running alongside the Empowerment Bank.
Recently, we had one in Chiruman. So what we want to do, in as much as we want to impact our farmers with the farming skills, farming knowledges and stuff, there's also need to have an aspect of financial management within their own enterprise. Even if it's a small plot, you need to make sure that what has been put on the land, if I got any surplus or any proper management of these finances. So what we have done is we've incorporated empowerment on our trainings for the farmers, to make sure that they get the much needed general or just a layman financial management skills, just little bit keep the books of accounts, just record. If you check, we're also running the same program with award, where we're awarding the best farmer where you've done well. The first thing that we are looking for is the record keeping. The farmer should be able to have a small book where you just put notes, but I planted my maize for the 7th of December. I put 10 kgs of tea. I put it for the purpose of maintaining the record and also evaluating and calculating the profit of it. Because we want to put the concept of agribusiness within the farmer. So I think it's quite important. But each and every farmer who's practicing his business, make sure to ensure that am I making profit or a loss, and also proper management of this financial. Because you know the problem with farmers, the moment you sell your maize, you will just use the whole money, forgetting that next year I also want to go to business. So also need to tell them about financial planning, financial management, financial integrity, and the stuff. So that's why we have been working the empowerment to assist us on that part.
Now, let me take you back a couple of steps and go back to the discussion of young people participating in government-led programs. Now, there seems to be this understanding that's been highlighted time and time again here on our program that young people in Zimbabwe feel as though government-led programs are only benefiting ZANU-PF members and people that are in close proximity to the ruling party. Now, this belief has pushed a lot of young people away from participating in government-led programs merely because A, some of them are non-partisan and others may be opposition supporters. And so in their mind, whenever it's a government-led program, one would, there's ZANU. So I'm a little curious in terms of what people like yourselves can do towards changing that narrative so that youth of all spheres can benefit from these programs.
Like I was on this program, telling people that there's a difference between a political party and the government program. We at Hove in Zimbabwe, we are running a program with, for Youth for Peace, where we are saying youth, they are agents for peace in their community. We are doing it with all political parties, but we started in many political parties for now, which is NPF, CPC, and MDCC. We will MOUs with these political parties. We show that our programs are non-partisan. They don't select anyone. So, for example, when we are going around the world capacitating the young women on the indigenized conservative farming, climate resilient farming method, we are not targeting any particular party, but we are targeting the rural young women that are prone or vulnerable to the global warming that is being experienced in the world. So we need to remove the mentality of saying, of labeling a government or attaching a government to a political party, because the government is made up of all the Zimbabwe, not made up of a political party. So I think that will knock in the heads of many that if there's a government program that is being ushered by the government to the youth, let's also take that opportunity and grab and utilize them. I've been telling people about the 500 hectares of land that was allocated by Italy to the youth in Zimbabwe. I'm telling them, let's go and participate. We form ourselves, put ourselves in hubs and benefit. At the same time, there's about 700 LAFA that we put as the president of the youth in Zimbabwe. His the president didn't give to a party, but he gave to the youth in a community. So we need also to participate in these programs, which also benefit. Because the government funds, they are meant to benefit every Zimbabwean. It's not selective to any political party.
All right, Mr. Mchenje, let me hold you there for a couple of minutes. Let me translate everything we've been saying for our NWA audience. And when I come back to you, we're going to be wrapping up in Shona. Yebo kambe Zulu kandaba wonke umuntu engenayo kuhlelo siyakwamukela kuhlelo lwethu lwabasakhulayo sikhuluma nje kuhlelo silomnumzana uJohn Mchenje ingcwethi kwezokulima sikhangela uhlelo lwabo olujonge ukuthuthukisa abantu abasakhulayo kanye labomama abasemaphandleni. Uyachasisa ngempela uMchenje ukuthi hayi ngempela balalo uhlelo olujonge ukuthuthukisa abomama labasakhulayo abasemaphandleni bebanikeza ulwazi oluthile mayelana ngenhlelo ezikhona elizweni abo Empowerment Bank, abo Women Bank, abo Agriculture Bank ukuthi bona bengayenzani ukuze bayenelise ukuthola ukuba ingxenye yohlelo zikahulumende ezijonge ukuthuthukisa abantu abasemaphandleni kakhulukazi abakwezokulima. Ngimbuzile ngempela umnumzana Mchenje ukuthi hayi uhlelo lolu luzathuthukisa njani abasakhulayo kanye labomama. Uyasho ngempela ukuthi hayi into yokuqala bazathola hatshi ulwazi kuphela but even equipment efunakalayo ukuze bayenelise ukuqhuba umsebenzi wabo kahle. Bazathola amasimu lapho bazayenelisa ukuyenza umsebenzi wabo belima khona. Sithintile udaba lokuthi bakhona abomama abaningi emaphandleni abakhala besithi hayi bayasebenza gadalala kodwa i-land ownership dololo abantu abesifazane kuthiwa hayi yibo abalutshwane ngempela who have access to i-land. So uMchenje uyasho ngempela ukuthi uhlelo lwabo lujonge ukutshintsha izinto ezinjalo. Ngiphinde ngambuza njalo ukuthi siyezwa ikakhulukazi abantu abasakhulayo abaningi bekhala besithi inhlelo zikahulumende sikhanye ngani zithuthukisa abantu abayingxenye yebandla leZANU-PF kanye with all of the people abalobudlelwano labantu abeZANU-PF. Yena uMchenje uyathi hayi lokho akusilona iqiniso. Uyasho ngempela ukuthi udubo lukhona ukuthi abantu abaningi abafuni ukuba ingxenye yalezi nhlelo ngenxa yokuthi balombono onjalo. So nxa umuntu esekela ibandla eliphikisayo yena akasafuni ukuba ingxenye yohlelo lolu ngenxa yokuthi ngombono wakhe ubona ngani uhlelo lukahulumende lujonge ukuthuthukisa abantu abeZANU-PF kuphela. Kodwa yena uyakuphika khonokho esithi akusilona iqiniso. Uyakhuthaza njalo wonke umuntu ukuthi zama ngamandla akho wonke ukungena ukuba ingxenye yalezi nhlelo. Uyasho ngempela even uhlelo lwabo lolu uyasho ngempela ukuthi bakhangelele ukuthuthukisa wonke umuntu kungelani lokuthi usekela ibandla liphi, kungelani lokuthi ungumuntu omnyama, what age, cultural background akulandaba. Uyasho ngempela ukuthi bona njengenhlanganiso bakhangelele ukuthuthukisa wonke umuntu ongusakhulayo, wonke umuntu owesifazana osemaphandleni. So umchenje uphinde njalo wathinta esithi uhlelo lolu bazavehlelana ngogatsha olukhangela ngezokulima iMinistry of Agriculture. So to do that bazabesebenza ndawonye benikeza abantu ulwazi oluthile abesebenzisa ama-radio stations besebenzisa njalo ama-community leaders ukuze labo baspread information ngalezi nhlelo ukuze wonke umuntu ayenelise ukuba yingxenye yalolu hlelo. So that's my conversation with umnumzana John Muchenje Zuluganda babhalana imibono yenu ngohlelo lolu olujonge ukuthuthukisa abantu abasakhulayo kanye labo mama abasemaphandleni. Bamchenje, over to you now.
Isusu se-organization Zimbabwe tiri zvirongwa zvakati wandei zvinodzidzisa varimi vedu vekumaruwa takanangana maringe nenyaya dzeclimate change yatinoti kuchinja kwekunze pakuita kuti takuwana mvura shoma towana nguva yakawanda yekupisa. So tine zvirongwa zvakati wandei zvinosanganisa kudzidzisa nekuencouraja varimi vedu kuti vaite zvirimwa zvepfumbusa yatinoti yekuchera makomba iri kuitwa nehurumende. Kwezvese zvinoorganization complementing effort yehurumende kupromota nekuencouraja nokukurudzira varimi vedu vekumaruwa kuti vaite zvakadaro. Ndichiri ipapo tine zvirongwa zvakati wandei zvatiri kuita. Pari zvino tiri kushanda tiri kuRungwe West Rural District uko kwatiri kuisa atinoti 8 ma-solar powered community gardens anova magarden anenge ane madzimai vari 50-50. Tinovaya waya kusinga zvibhorani kuisa ma-irrigation kuisa matank toivapa mbeu nemafertilizer kuti vachaita kuita garden yavo. So chishuwo chedu seorganization kuti tisvike kumadistrict ese ari muZimbabwe especially marural but watareti 32 marural district tange tiuya kudzidzisa zvemadzimai edu tikuona kuti madzimai vakawanda vazhinji ndovarikuita zvekurima saka vadzidzisa namamethods edu ari echivanhu ari local ekumendena ivhu nekumendena unyoro musi kuti tiwane govo rakawanda.
Vamchenje, takunzwai muchibata nzvimbo dzakasiyana-siyana uku kwamuri kuita chirongwa chenyu. Pane zvamakarongera vechidiki vekumatebeleland?
Tikuti tibva kuRungwe West takananga kuKundilima rural district tokwatira kuenda kuti gore rino takambobata kuRungwe tikabva taenda kumatebeleland because we are targeting the southern part of Zimbabwe inova the extreme part of Mashwezi, the extreme part of Manicaland, Masvingo, Midlands, Matebeleland, North and South. Kunovaiko atinoti madry region kuri nzvimbo dzinoti omei munowana mvura shoma muZimbabwe pakure.
Tinonzwa madzimai anoita zvekurima vanogara kumamisha uko vachichema nenyaya yekushaya mikana yekuzvisimudzira. Zvii zvamakatarisira kuita sesangano rine chinongwa chakanangana nekusimudzira madzimai pamwe chete nevechidiki?
Chekutanga ndechekuti pana mbotaura kuti tine magadheni atiri kuita kuRungwe. Takakumbira land kubva kumaleaders edu atoti ma-traditional leaders, ma-community traditional leaders vanosanganisira madushe namadzimambo nanasabhuku tobva tapiwa ma1 hectare atiri kudayiwa. So tiri kuti ma1 hectare tira kuti ngave ari mumaoko emadzimai magroup edu ave madzimai. In that respect vanenge vakuvaona land yavo vari madzimai. Then secondly patiri kupushawo nyaya dzekuti land must be given kumayouth. Tiri kuti the 60% inofanira kuva iri madzimai. Let's gender balance like you have said kuti madzimai mashoma vanowanikwa vari panyaya dzeland ownership but tiri kuti organization yedu yeFA inomirirawo kodzero dzemadzimai kungava kumapolitics kungave munyaya dzebudiro kuti pese paminde yese iri kubuda ngatiwanikewo 50% ari madzimai ari kuwanawo minda iyo vawane mikana nekuti ownership yeland yamabva mukutanga.
Aiwa, nguva ndiyo yadyikanana mukoma Muchenje ndanchikumbira kuti mukande mashoko enyu ekupedzisira mururimi rwamai.
Inoti ngatibatanei sevana vechidiki veZimbabwe tishandire nyika yedu. Tatarise kuti ini ndiri murungu ndiri mutema ndiri mushona. Tatarise kuti ndinopinda chesi yeRoma yeAFM yemarangi. Tatarise uyezve kuti indiri webato reABC or T. Zimbabwe ndeyedu takaipiwa nevabereki vedu vakashayika kugara vaenda kuhudo vachidebharira nyika ino. Saka ngatishandei pamwe chete sevana veZimbabwe. Zvisinei kuti vebato ripi. Zvikuru kuti nyika yedu iende kumberi.
Well, thank you there, Mr. Mchenje. But for our non-speaking, for our Shona non-speaking audience, could you kindly throw your last sentiments?
Thank you very much. I think just to start by, we are dealing with the informing program for the youth. We are doing them in partnership with the Ministry of Agriculture. So we are in contact with the provincial heads, agriculture heads, with the Ministry of Agriculture and also the district heads of agriculture, and also our offices. We are in Harare, and the people that can get hold of us on our website, for example, Foundation, they can see the posters that will be posting that on this day we are in this province, and this day we are in this district. And then also liaising with their, like I said before, liaising with their local agriculture officer, because we are doing this program in partnership with the Ministry of Agriculture. But at this, whenever we are sending the people, we are complementing the effort of the government. The government has already rolled out some motorbikes and capacitated the agriculture officers to make sure that they also monitor some of the work that are being on the ground. Then in terms of the youth peace engagement program, I think quite a number of people they can also get hold of their own youth leaders. For example, in Zanpef, we have got Comrade Rao, at Triple C, we have got the Commander Celia Kimbiri, and then at MVCT, we have got Youth Assembly leader, who is the Honorable Yvonne Musaroro. So from the program that we are doing with the youth, they are doing quite a number of programs, they supporting activities, then also get hold of their leaders, and then they will tell them when are we doing it.
As we wrap up, you heard there, Mr. Mchenje, talking about the Pfumvudza program. Now, some people don't really have much knowledge on what the Pfumvudza program is and why it's so helpful, particularly in a country like Zimbabwe. So let's head over to a report that was recently done by VOA correspondent Columbus Mavunga, who talks more about the Pfumvudza program and why Zimbabwean farmers are turning to it.
Zimbabwe is hoping to one day regain its former title as the breadbasket of Southern Africa. 52-year-old George Nyamakawa is one of millions of farmers authorities are training under a UN-backed program called Pfumvudza. Pfumvudza, which means early shoots in Shona, is a method of conservation agriculture that focuses on small plots, retains water longer, and is more efficient than large-scale plowing.
It is easy to maintain. At the same time, it gives more food to the nation.
The UN's Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO, has trained government officials on the method to help combat food shortages that have plagued Zimbabwe for over a decade. Zimbabwe's government has touted the program as a possible food security solution. But the UN's World Food Program notes it is still providing food aid to about 8 million Zimbabweans, more than half the population.
I think it will take a bit more time to really work towards zero hunger and eradicate the problem altogether.
Early shoots farming has its limitations, says Mandevamba Rukuni, a former agriculture economics professor who now directs a charity focused on farming innovation.
The main one is very labor intensive. And Zimbabwe, like most other countries, labor is becoming more and more scarce, especially in rural areas. People are moving to urban areas.
Farmers like Nyamakawa say are willing to do the extra work if the yields are higher and if they can count on authorities for support. Columbus Mavunga for VOA News, Harare.
Well, Maria Zimbabwe, you heard there from our VOA correspondent at Columbus Mavunga, Siyabonga Ngempela Mavunga, for that report. Bone lokwa namhla mthwakazi omuhle eZimbabwe umuhle sesifikile emaphuthelweni ohlelo lwethu lwabasakhulayo muri eZimbabwe tashika akumagumo echirongwa chedu chanhasi rega ndichore mukana wezvo chokwadi mukutenda vankosi khona David mtauri wesangano re Ekaya votes 2023 tinotenda zvakare kuna vaJohn Mchenje who took out time to be with us pano pachirongwa chedu chevechidiki. And also earlier on muri Zimbabwe, when we started off our conversation, you heard there from young people who were speaking during a discussion on the a voter registration democracy discussion led by the National Movement of Catholic Students in Zimbabwe. Once again, to watch that full discussion, head over to their Facebook page. It's an interesting hour-long discussion. So Maria Zimbabwe, that's our show for tonight. For those that are looking to chat with me, I'm on Instagram and Twitter at @MikeHove_ is the username. Let's meet at the same time and same place. Pano Studio 7 and next week, Maria Zimbabwe. I go by the name of Mike Hove. Zimbabwe. Bye-bye.